Okay, we are now recording the cloud. Hello, everyone, and welcome to, oh my God, I don't remember what day it is, January 27th, 2021 uh, weekly ContribEx meeting. I'm your host, Bob Killen, one of the co-chairs. As a general reminder to folk, these meetings are recorded and we abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct, which essentially boils down to please be excellent to each other. With that, I don't see anyone new on the line, so I think we can kick off into our sort of regularly scheduled business. Um, First, the lazy consensus period is over, so congrats, Allison. Welcome. Like,
Congratulations.
Thank
yep,
you so much.
the commits haven't happened yet, but you can put your chair crown on. Uh, the next thing, as sort of general ContribEx news, I sent an email out to the list about possibly changing the time of this meeting to moving it a half hour earlier. Folks have been pretty positive on that for a variety of reasons. For me personally, it's a bit better, and I now have a permanent conflict at the top of the hour, so I would have to drop. Uh, so. If you do have questions or concerns about it, please chime in on the list. If it is a problem for people, we will try and find a better potential time slot. With that, we'll go right into events. Office hours, I know happened and went pretty well. George is working on getting more people involved as potential handoff as he's stepping a bit more away from the project. Excuse me. But I don't really have any other updates there on that one. The community meeting, you might have saw that it was canceled for this month. There are some various issues that we're encountering. The public Google group the Kubernetes Dev Google group is now large enough that we can't send invites to it. In fact, I can't export the list of people that are on it either. It's just too big. This is the same problem we saw with trying to get the email addresses for the steering election. But now it's getting it's impacting a bit more. But there's also a general discussion going on the overall value of the community meeting. People like the release updates, but they're shifting to email. We'll see. It is going to be a topic for discussion. Actually, before we discuss that on like the steering side, does anyone on the ContribEx side have any questions, comments about the community meeting?
So one thing we discussed an age ago was the possibility of having SIGs schedule their own public sessions, because like one of the valuable things with the community meeting is getting updates from SIGs that you don't participate in, so you know what it is they're working on. And one of the things that we discussed last time we sort of reconfigured the community meeting was the possibility of instead asking and scheduling, somebody would have to follow up on this, SIGs having a public meeting on their own schedule where they went over the update instead of a joint community meeting. Yep. At the time, we decided that it was actually easier for the attendees to have those lumped together in a community meeting. But if we're considering dropping the monthly community meeting, then maybe we want to reconsider that other idea.
So another idea, the OpenStack community, we do like project updates too. That's the equivalent of the SIG updates. And lately, since we're not like meeting in person to do them at events, we have just put like calls out for people if they want to do an update and record it, and then we'll like promote it for them. And then it's like a 10-minute recording or whatever that we can put in like a playlist on YouTube for somebody to go watch through all of them if they want.
Sorry, I missed that a little bit because I was trying to also handle notes. I realized I didn't ask for a note taker first of all, and so Matt, you were typing in there as another comment, so wasn't quite sure. First,
Sorry, Bob.
It's okay. Does anyone actually want to step up as a note taker by chance?
I can do that.
Thank you. Now, for me, would you mind repeating what you just said? Sorry
Sure.
about that.
So the OpenStack community does updates too, similar to how the SIGs do. We have switched from doing them like in a community meeting or like at an event to basically just putting a call out to like the leaders, the equivalent of like the SIG chairs, and being like, if you want to record a like 5 to 10 minute thing, we'll promote it for you to like the rest of the community and outside the community, and then just making like a YouTube playlist. And then like we for our first round, because we've only done one round of these, like it worked pretty well. There was pretty decent like involvement. We did end up having some sort of like public forum for questions, but we didn't actually get that many questions. So if people or if the SIG chairs, after they like got to the end of their content, they'd just be like, join the channel to like ask us questions on these things or whatever, like that would probably work too.
Yeah, sort of like everyone could record the quarterly update.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes the, Kubernetes quarterly, process update, or, SIG update,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
While accidentally hijacking Bob's brain, I was trying to write out some thoughts, and I hadn't even thought about the idea that the meeting could go away, which is just assigned to me. Like I thought of it as like an essential kind of point in which we converse with each other, but kind of trying to break down like the things that came to mind. I think of the community meeting as like the first thing I recommend community members to go to get like a little bit of a snacking of all the different SIGs and what's going on. So while a little overwhelming, I still think of it as kind of the front door to the community. And then for current members, which, if we can break Google's member list, we have a lot of, it really is that like check in, getting beyond your like myopic view of Kubernetes and seeing the bigger picture of it. And I'm trying to think of, would we be able to keep those same sort of feelings in different places? Like if we change the medium. I lean too much on podcasts personally. I was like, do we just need like a community podcast that's the official update and we interview some people? I'd be down. But also, is that good or yet another thing?
You can toss on an idea. I know people would listen to the community meetings previously.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't necessarily be a podcast, but possibly going back to like the OpenStack recording of the community updates might be a way that could be consumed that loses the user.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the dialogue.
Yeah.
Like where does the dialogue happen?
The big problem is like most of the community meetings turned into like there wasn't discussion, and that was like a complaint we heard like on the SIG leads list. Is the value to the contributor base is lost because it is just like tuning in and you're listening to someone read it off, and there is no like there isn't actual discussion.
Yeah. Huh.
And that is from a more senior contributor perspective and not necessarily a new contributor looking to get like a snapshot of the community.
If we're starting like a little side conversation or a doc to explore what our options are and like the thoughts and feels there, I'd love to be involved.
Okay. I know it's going to be a topic of discussion at I don't know if it's the next steering meeting, but a steering meeting. Cool. And we were going to like surface some of the questions and comments from this up there as well for a couple ideas. When it comes to fixing the mailing list invite, right now our only real solution is to port everyone over to a G Suite managed mailing list. There we go. Brain farted of the word. That will be its own set of challenges. I'll just leave it at that for now. Did anyone else have any questions or comments regarding the community meeting?
Is there a GitHub issue link that I could add to the notes in here? Yeah.
Not at this point in time.
Okay.
We should create one though. There wasn't a after we noticed that the calendar invite wasn't actually going out. We didn't follow up with creating one, so there should be one. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay.
As a
Nope,
spin-off of
sorry.
that, I think we really need to have a conversation about whether or not we should be using Google Groups for the community.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
It's a whole nother one. I'll open an issue, but you know, this is the second time that the limitations of a proprietary platform have hamstrung us in something we wanted to do for the community, and we should at least consider alternatives.
Yeah, I would create an issue. I don't see us migrating off the platform anytime soon. Is the one thing.
Well,
is
for one
the
thing,
reality
Google
of the
Group,
situation.
right? For one thing, Google Groups is now effectively blocking us from migrating off, since we can't get a dump of our subscribers.
There are reasons for that I cannot say while this is recorded.
Okay.
I'm sure. Yeah, let's separate the fix from the re-architecture.
Yeah.
Like we got sounds like you've got to deal with the fix first.
Okay. So any other questions, comments, concerns regarding the community meeting or that other fun stuff? Okay. I have no comments regarding contributor summits. We were asked if we wanted to potentially do something for KubeCon EU, but I think at this point, if we do something, it will just be fully independent of any sort of KubeCon up until they are in person again. I think tying it to honestly, a KubeCon event will just be more stressful for everyone involved. Allison?
I just have a question about that towards the end. Like, I know there was some discussion around the calendar invite stuff, and I'm not sure if it updated to my calendar, if we changed it. So any update on that? Because I feel like I might have missed.
The community meeting invite?
No, the contributor summit planning.
Oh,
that's new contributor workshop. Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
No. Yeah, we don't have a meeting for that one currently, just because there isn't any, upcoming event that we have scheduled. If we do decide to do an event, it will not be a part of KubeCon. It will not be adjacent to KubeCon itself. This is honestly, it not being tied to that for a virtual event was just easier on everyone involved.
Can confirm it's a good idea, because whenever we've tried to put the fun thing with the real life thing like we used to do in person, it crashes and burns. So definitely doing it separately is better.
Okay. Do we have any other questions, comments about contributor summits or events in general? Okay. Mentoring. Meet our contributors. Paris isn't on the line. I believe she is still. Chris chimed in on the list, but I think she's still looking for other people. Excuse me, that might be involved in helping with the meet our contributors. And then I can't answer all the questions, but if anyone has anything on that, I can try to answer it. Okay. Playground, GSC outreachy. Ihor, I think you have an update just on the deadline for this.
Yeah, just a brief update. Just forwarded it to the leads mailing list a few minutes ago. That if you plan to participate as a mentor and you plan to, and you'd like to propose a project for mentoring for this LFX mentorship cycle, previously known as Community Bridge, the deadline is January 31st, so until the end of the current month. All the necessary details are on the CNCF GitHub under the mentoring repo in the LFX mentorship subdirectory, or feel free to drop me a note if you're looking for something specific, or if you have any questions.
Yeah, we talked about a few ideas in the last mentoring / new contributor workshop, but I don't know if there is enough time for us to really execute on those before honestly the end of the month. We'll see.
Yeah, if you have some solid idea that you'd like to have implemented under the mentoring umbrella, we're also flexible enough. So if you want to push this deadline a bit later, so
Okay,
it's negotiable. So just let me know.
cool. Having a little bit of wiggle room is nice. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, new contributor workshop. Allison.
I haven't caught up on that because I haven't been able to attend because of meetings. So I think Josh can take over on this one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the work is slow. People have been vaguely working on different segments for it. The main progress has been with the New Zealand lab contingent, hippies crew of people who have been putting together an interactive environment for build and test, as well as a script, etc. And they're pretty close to having that complete, which would be a major thing for the new contributor training, at least for code contributors. For the rest of it, we have our usual issue, which is that for everybody involved in producing segments for that, it's priority number 13 or something.
Yeah, like I say, fifth thing on the list.
Yeah. So I know for the segment that I'm on, I got as far as writing a script for a new version of that segment, but not actually recording it, because recording it will take an entire day and a half. So that's kind of progress. Allison, may I suggest we really should have a mentoring meeting on the other side of the clock. Do you want to throw out a doodle for that? Do you want me to throw out a doodle for that?
If you could throw out a doodle for that, that would be awesome.
Okay.
And then just flick that in ContribEx or on the mailing list. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. The new contributor workshop is honestly one of the big priorities I want to see us get done this cycle. It is on my priority list as well. Is there any other mentoring comments, questions, any other fun stuff? Okay. Off to community management. So we actually have a pretty full need to know email list already. If folks want to take a look at that, the stuff we have on deck is the priority one is just so the we still need to establish the release schedule for 2021. It was originally going to go out the deadline for the 28th. That has since passed. We'll see where that lands. And then all the the LFX mentorship deadline, the KubeCon EU maintainer session deadline, the SIG annual reports, and then the last one on the list is the proposal to increase increase the bar of reliability for Kubernetes. And you might have seen that go across a couple lists. Josh, I know you've taken a look at it. I know it's been updated sort of recently.
Okay, this is not the PRR thing. This is Wojciech's thing.
Yeah, this is not the PR thing. The PR thing has merged and gone through at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, the TLDR is there is potential to actually prevent the merging of PRs or blocking of features unless they get their tests and flakes addressed.
As you've probably seen from the comments in the document, I'm against it.
Yeah.
It's essentially a collective punishment model, and those pretty much never work. I mean, in the past, the release team used to be a lot more active in halting merges if test grid was terrible. But the only reason why that worked is that we had a few contributors like Dims and Liggett who would pitch in and fix things whenever that happened. It wasn't the same people who worked on the features who were actually fixing things. And the thing is, Dims and Liggett can pitch in regardless of whether or not we're halting PRs.
It also shouldn't be on them to like handle everything though.
No, but what I'm saying is the idea of, okay, we're going to block all PRs from a specific SIG because we think that SIG is responsible for severely flaky tests is both going to create a lot of bad feeling and not solve the problem. And particularly I'm concerned, I asked a number of times what outreach to the leads and SIG chairs and stuff had been done while developing this proposal, and I never received an answer.
Yeah, as far as I know, outside of pinging people mostly on the leads list and then talking to SIG Arch and a few other places, I think it has gone out to KDev as well a couple times for initial review.
I never saw it on KDev. I got it off of the SIG Arch list.
Okay. I'm not
sure it's ever even been sent. Yeah, I'm not sure it's even been sent to KDev for that matter.
Either way, I would probably go to KDev after this. But yeah, I'm going back to the need to know list itself. I think it needs to be known. More of the chairs and folks need to see this and take a look at it. So I know that kind of squirreled a little bit off the initial need to know, but like I highly recommend everyone taking a look at it. Any other questions, comments regarding that? Okay. APAC coordinator update. I don't think there is one at this time. So we'll move on to the annual contributor survey. At this point, the questions are locked in outside of the demographic ones. A little bit of background. So historically, we've avoided asking demographic questions for a variety of reasons. It opens up, there's a lot more PII involved, and depending on how you phrase your questions, just judging by, the general diversity of our contributors, it'd be much easier to identify potentially much easier to identify specific contributors, which is not what we want. So Josh and I have largely worked on coming up with some fairly neutral phrasing, and it is currently off to the Code of Conduct committee to just like review and sort of see the state of this. This is largely because we as a community want to do significantly more in terms of D&I outreach this year. But we also sort of need to get like a pulse of what our current community is and sort of see if, whatever we do wind up doing this year, winds up, improving the situation, or where it improves it in terms of the general diversity of the community. the annual contributor survey is sort of our best way of doing that. I did not link to the form of the questions we have in the doc, but can also drop that in there. Josh?
Can we interrupt between items and actually do intros? We just had somebody ping on chat who's actually a new person to this meeting.
Oh yeah, sure.
I'll start off. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Josh Burkus. I work for Red Hat. I've been participating in this group for a long time, mostly doing stuff on mentoring.
I'll go next time. Bob Killen, Mr. Bobby Tables Across, get, pretty much all the things. I am a co-chair of the SIG, Contributor Experience.
Dinesh, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, Bob. Hi, Josh. Thank you for providing me the opportunity. And I've been working with the Hotstar, and I've got total 4 years of experience. And basically, I'm a Kubernetes practitioner. And recently, I just learned Go stuff to start contributing to Kubernetes.
Nice, welcome.
Cool.
I think I've seen a couple of your PRs come across K community recently. Maybe
For some mentorship program from Josh.
Okay. Oh, awesome. We're happy to have you.
Oh, right. Wait, were you one of our runners up for Community Bridge?
No. This is my first meeting. I'm not aware of any other bridges as of now.
No, I meant the Linux Foundation internship.
Yeah, I have submitted that form, but I'm not sure.
Right.
When this will be result will be announced. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, cool. Thank you for swinging on by. And if you want, again, feel free to ping any of us in Slack if you have any questions. We are, pretty much always happy to help. This is sort of the best place to get, if you're not at home here, we'll try and help you find a home in another SIG. So, oh, sorry. Okay. Back to community management for at least another minute. Does anyone have any questions or comments about any of the community management stuff before we move on? Okay. I don't have an update on dev stats. I know Lori was working on something, but I don't have anything there. Marketing.
Ahoy hoy. We are cruising along. My tab keeps crashing, so give me a second before I can pull that up. But the main thing, we're kicking off the year with a push for content, just getting people to write more. And our meetings on Friday morning have been partly working sessions so that we can kind of collaboratively work on stuff and feel like we're getting some stuff done along the way. The big ones right now, got a idea for people sharing their contributor stories to kick off the blog on kubernetes.dev. So Chris Short signed up. He wrote something on non-code contribution to Kubernetes because that's how he sees himself, and I think that's a really cool story to get other people who don't feel like they code to contribute to Kubernetes. Mine's more of a story of time and limiting how much time and still being effective along the way. And then a new contributor actually reached out saying he showed up to the marketing meeting and said he wants to join that meeting because he wants to learn more about marketing. He's a developer in the day job, and I thought that was a really cool angle too. So open invitation if you want to write a few sentences to a couple paragraphs on your contributor story, I will help you get that published. And I'm wanted to get a couple out there before I do like a broad push and try to get more people in the community to write, but that's what we're working on. We're also asked to write something up on PSP and its deprecation. So there's a collaborative article that Bob was a part of that is pretty far in progress. Kaslan's going to bring it over the finish line, but that's where we're at.
One note on the PSP thing, I discovered like last night that SIG Security and SIG Auth are working on 2 potential proposals as a replacement for PSPs.
Oh, cool.
I think they're going to be discussing them in the SIG Auth meeting soon. But if you pop into the SIG Security channel, I think those are the 2 links in there from Tabby.
Awesome. I'll pass that on to Kaslan on Friday.
Okay. Yeah, I literally saw it like last night.
That's cool. Yeah. Maybe we have a Rev 1. Hey, there's no replacement. And then Rev 2 is like, just kidding. Here's some options.
Yeah. Well, the one big thing would be is if they, do the first pass of ideas and then are actually looking for user input. So like that would be the one thing of wanting to coordinate the blog post to the timing of that to potentially, get end user feedback.
Cool. That sounds great.
Okay.
And last but not least, I mean, based on this conversation, I at least want to bring up the community meeting on Friday, see if anyone wants to kind of talk through it in some way. And if anything comes of it, Bob and Allison will send it your way before you keep going with it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool. Any questions, comments for Matt on marketing? Okay. Contributor docs, I don't have any real updates here. At least nothing since last week. One note if you might have missed is that we do plan to migrate the Kubernetes contributor website repo to Kubernetes from Kubernetes SIGs. So that way we can reuse the SIG docs localization teams to start working on the localization of that content. Other than that, no updates there. Does anyone have any questions, comments regarding contributor docs? Okay, GitHub management. We've done our annual cleanup of the org, removing inactive users. This is a potential opportunity for folks if they're interested. We do need help cleaning up all the associated owners files. They are the various owners files and who needs to be removed are all linked in the issue that I linked in the document, as well as a few example PRs of what that looks like. Right now it's, I think it was like 60 people on the nose. But sort of the little background on this is if you've had no activity within the org or any one of the Kubernetes orgs for 18 months, that's commenting on, issues, PRs, doing like even reacting with a like emoji in GitHub. If you have no events, then we will remove you from the Kubernetes org for and clean up the owners files to just like, reduce the potential blast radius for security and make sure that like people are actually getting assigned active reviewers. Any questions, comments on that one?
Yeah, Bob. So this cleanup will be manual, or are we going to build some automation around this?
So that one, like there is going to be automation that we want to do long term. The automation regarding the owners files themselves would be difficult in this current stage. The main thing we were thinking of doing was doing automation regarding the removal from people from the org if they've been inactive for some time. This is actually a feature GitHub is potentially interested in doing themselves. So wouldn't say that we want to invest much at this point in time if GitHub's going to be doing it directly. What we do need help with is just the follow-up and cleaning up the owners files from those from this round of removal.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments regarding the member cleanup? Okay. One other GitHub thing, and this comes from Ehor's in my meeting with GitHub this morning. There is the GitHub has done all the stuff regarding the branch rename automation. However, they do have an issue with repos with a lot of PRs that are open, and it can potentially cause the webhooks and CI jobs to retrigger, and we really don't want that to happen on 1,000 PRs, especially with how costly some of the Kubernetes CI is. So we will probably hold off on migrating KK until they have that resolved. The GitHub management team is probably gonna be, I think the meeting for that is tomorrow, but we will be talking about the migration of master domain there. Any questions, comments on that one? Okay. I have no Slack updates. Anyone have any Slack updates?
We finished renaming the Kubernetes contributor channel, resulting in actually a a troll taking on Noah, but the he knows how to deal with that.
Yep. And I will say that has been a fairly positive change so far. We haven't gotten people asking off-topic things in there anymore, at least since we unheld the PR and it merged. Any questions, comments on Slack? Okay, that takes us to open mic. I tossed 2 items on here. One is we tried the whole Slack meeting style thing, and I wanted to get some feedback on that since there wasn't too much. I don't think anyone responded on the list directly outside of you, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so in the positives, obviously, we were able to, sort of get responses from people across a huge range of time zones. The negatives included the threading UI in Slack, which is still terrible, which made it often hard to actually follow conversations you were having if you were in more than one. And that it was hard to tell when a discussion was concluded. You follow me?
Yep.
I think the second could be solved somehow.
Yeah. So the first time it happened was because several of us immediately had a conflict, and so it's just well, let's try the Slack stand up, this time around, and we didn't set the bounding times for it. With the second meeting, we had the predefined. This is when it starts. This is when it stops. Conclude your conversations by this time. And I think that is, if we are going to move forward with it, I think that's what we do.
Yeah.
Allison?
If we move forward with it, one thing, if we had a separate channel for those kind of meeting notes so they don't get lost or people don't feel like they can send messages in the ContribEx channel while the meeting thing is going on, because that might help improve quality of life and searching back through the notes.
Yep. So funny, I was actually thinking of something like that initially too, but for sort of the dry run, didn't want to spin out potentially another channel for this.
Fair enough.
But that might also help the conversation problem that you're having, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the issue is I almost feel like we should spin off a temporary channel for every discussion. But if it was temporary, then we would lose the contents of it. So
that's why I think if we do have a separate channel for essentially the meetings where, you could have it's not necessarily each bullet point item, but you could have separate threads for, more of the topics. And essentially, like, here's the start date, here's the end date. The conversations between here become the notes.
Can you administratively, this goes into Slack settings, I don't know. Can you administratively set a channel to say that anything posted to a thread in that channel is also posted to the channel in general?
No.
Okay. So it's still up to the individual commenter to decide whether or not that's how their post is going to appear.
They can, they can click on it to essentially send it back to it is on the person to do it.
Can you set up a like bot in the channel to log everything in between some like start command and end command and like save that somewhere else? That's like what we do in IRC for our meetings, but I don't know if that's possible with Slack.
Probably yes. I think so. What probably will end up happening though is just like one of the leads that's essentially consolidating the notes would just like copy and paste it, and then because we do cleanup of the notes anyway before to put them back into our doc and send them out to the list.
Yeah. That'd definitely be like a low tech version, but yeah, that would work.
Yeah. Well, the one thing is like I think there's still going to be some cleanup of the notes and everything. Is the like we just don't want to resend conversations out.
Well, but somehow saving a raw log would make that easier, because sometimes the cleanup of the notes never happens because people are busy, and at least if you have the raw log, you haven't lost everything.
I mean, we don't send out the raw log, but they are available both in Slack, and we do a general export once a quarter.
Hypothetically, if bots are able to pull that data, we have bots for like actions and links and stuff that basically create a like nice version of the notes like this throughout the meeting, so long as whoever's leading it remembers to like use those actions. And then you don't have to go and like write them by hand because they're happening in sync. And so we end up getting the raw log and that like outline version with stuff.
Okay. Potentially.
Right. It's like
unfortunately,
so
unfortunately, like the integrations for Slack are kind of awful compared to other platforms.
Yeah.
So, by the way, my sort of summary is, I feel like alternating Slack meetings with video meetings would be a good approach if we can work out the technical issues.
Yeah. The cadence I was thinking was just like, bi-weekly. So we have a face-to-face meeting. The next meeting is in Slack and vice versa. So it's like 2 Slack, 2 face-to-face meetings per month. And the other big follow-up item is that actual things that require like real decisions have to go to the list as an independent thread. Generally just to get more broader consensus on an item.
Meetings are more for discussion than like concrete decisions. Those should
exactly
happen.
Yes.
Infinitely, so people can share opinions and whatnot.
Yeah, ContribEx has been, and like this is also very much like my fault. We've been a lot of decisions made in meetings without the actual follow up to the list, and that is something I'm trying to improve upon this year.
It's really hard because you just want to like do something concretely. Like, yes, everybody's here, except we're also not all here.
Yep.
I actually have a suggestion for that. If we have a decision section of the notes where we just break out all the decisions that were made at the meeting, and then we can just announce it, link to the notes, say, here's the list of decisions. If you are going to object or comment on one of these, you have 48 hours before they're final. And that would be sort of a minimum effort way of doing that.
Yeah, that is an idea. let's see.
rather than sending each individual decision to a different discussion thread.
Yeah, the one advantage of the separate threads is that like at least everything related to that goes up to that top, if that makes sense. But
Makes it easier to discover later on when you're trying to refer back to things.
yeah. Then let's see. Then she dropped a link to a effective meetings in Slack.
Yeah, this is an app I can see you can add it in a Slack and sort of MOM sort of agenda of meetings or the discussion of meeting you can add, but I'm not sure. I'm not admin of the workspace, so we can give it a try something in free time.
We'd have to through this. So since our Slack has like 120,000 people on it.
Okay.
We are very restrictive of what integrations we like allow to happen with Slack. We actually have we have like an entire Slack admin team, and we have an issue template for proposing bots and all that. So what we'd probably want doing is review the bot and then propose it to the Slack admins for feedback on a GitHub issue there.
I guess everyone will be facing this issue of the meeting notes or something, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah, if this works out or any other apps can work out, then it's a good.
Yeah, it'd be a good solution. Okay, cool. Thank you for dropping a link in the notes.
Yeah.
With that, we are like I tossed one other item on here, but we only have like 10 minutes left. So does anyone have any things that they want to discuss? Okay. We did I'll share my screen in just a moment. Okay, can folks see it's the 120 milestone?
Yep.
Okay. So we actually did a pretty good job and made it through a good chunk of the items we had open. I don't want to spend too much time on that just because we only have a few minutes left. But on these remaining open items, I'm thinking we just put them over to the 121 milestone because like this should get done soon. Allison, I know we're going to work on this one as we go through your onboarding as a new lead. And this should also get done soon as blocked on me. So are folks comfortable with just moving these things to the 121 milestone and closing this one out? I will go with silence as a yes. And I will do that later. And then pretty much everything in the 121 milestone is the new contributor workshop. So this will definitely be the priority for the next cycle. And some of the other items, so like, sorry, The developer guide audit is not necessarily on us, but that's on the other SIGs to do. Our job is mostly to try and poke them to getting it done so we can improve our general documentation. Is anyone seeing stuff in here that they feel should be kicked out? Anything that they want to add at this point in time? So this is a very abbreviated version of what we normally do for a board review, just for the sake of time. I think we're pretty good there for the most part, especially once we roll in the other ones. And again, the new contributor workshop will 100% be the priority for this cycle. I will stop sharing my screen. And does anyone else have like last minute items or anything like that? Cool. I will give you 5 minutes to go to your next meeting. Thanks, everyone.
No problem. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.